Hey, this is Mark at Great Lakes Comic Con. I'm here with Ken DeSantis. He's the brother of Mike DeSantis. And, you know, this show is like the testament to the love that everyone had for Mike. Tell us a little bit about Mike.
Mike was a great guy, obviously. I've known him all my life. He's 2 years older than me, so I've known him for 51 years. He loved his comics. He loved this whole environment. He started this thing from 15 years ago in a little tiny VFW hall, brought it all the way up to what it is today. But Mike, he's also a teacher, social studies teacher at Troy Athens. Kids loved him. They were all here the other day. Probably 50 to 100 kids showed up with their teachers. So that was really, really great for all the, the kids to see all that. So that's, that is it. Mike is, great husband, great, brother, great dad to the, to his kids. So that's it, man.
Tell us a little bit about what you guys had to do after he passed, and then you had to take over the show. What were some of the challenges?
Biggest challenge is we still haven't been able to get into his laptop. So, and we don't have access to his web page or his Facebook page. But luckily, we have about 90% of the information written down or emailed between Mike, his wife, and myself. But that's that 10% that was in Mike's head that nobody will ever know what he wanted to do. So that was the biggest challenge in the endless hours. I don't know how Mike even did it. I mean, full-time job as a teacher. He would come home every day and type away on his laptop and take care of things. Myself, I work a full-time job, and I come home and I'm trying to figure out what was in Mike's head. So the biggest challenges was trying to get the information that Mike wanted to happen and bring it together and make it work out.
You could tell that, there is a presence missing here from this show this weekend. And, it's hard for a lot of people. And I'm glad everyone here is cherishing his memory. And people like you and some of the dealers just have all these loving stories. And now, do you guys have any idea if you're going to continue on with this show in the future?
As of right now, we have full intentions we're going to talk about it after the show. After this all happens, we're going to decompress. We're all going to meet together. It's a family show. Mike, myself, Mike, his sister, my sister, Jerry Ann, Amy's family. We ran the show. The whole family ran the show. Luckily, everybody stepped up this year. Even my nieces and nephews who've never helped before, they've come in, given a hand. Amy's family, they're coming in to give a hand, which normally never helps. So all the family has come around. And then even his school family, there's a lot of workers that, teachers and stuff like that. A handful of them come every year. This year we had a whole bunch more come and help out. So we're going to talk about it. It's a lot of work. This was Mike's passion. So we'll talk about whether we can even, do part of what Mike even did. We'd be almost starting over from day one, So we'll discuss it and see if we, carry on his legacy and stuff like that. So we'll talk later.
I have a recommendation. If you do decide to continue on with the show, I think you guys need to call it Mike DeSantis' Great Lakes Comic Con.
That would be wonderful. We would have to, that would be great. I would think that would be fitting for the
name belongs up there with the name of the con.
Yes, it does. It sure does. He's, a lot of these people, Mike gave a lot of these dealers a chance 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and they've taken off since then. So, he's made a lot of friends doing this. So not just business partners or business acquaintances. A lot of them are truly friends. So he's traveled the country with some of the dealers that are here now going to different cons. So it's really been, for Mike, it's, Mike DeSantis, Great Lakes Comic Con, it's a perfect fitting.
Anyways, Ken, it was a pleasure speaking with you and sharing some of these memories with him. This is Mark at Great Lakes Comic Con. Hey, we're here with Brad Richards. He's got something to say about Mike DeSantis.
I just have to say, you meet a lot of people, promoters, dealers, and believe it or not, you become jaded. Not Mike. He was still a fan, constantly. Still read, still watched movies, watched the shows, healthy debates about it, and was always a reminder that you got to have fun. It's okay. let's forget about the BS behind politics or whatever. Like, hey, we're here to debate what's the best Spider-Man movie, or what's the cartoon that you should be watching that you haven't yet. And I mean, it was just wonderful. Besides being an unbelievable friend, but he will be dearly missed.
Totally agree. This is Mark at Great Lakes Comic Con. Hey, this is Mark. We're at Great Lakes Comic Con. I'm here with Bill Morrison. We're talking about Mike DeSantis. Tell us, Bill, tell us a little bit about your experience with Mike.
Well, I moved back to Michigan from California. I grew up here in Lincoln Park and lived most of my adult life out in Los Angeles. But my wife and I moved back in 2019, and I immediately wanted to connect to the comics community here. So I connected with other artists, with shows, and that's how I met Mike. And he was so welcoming and so gracious, and I got to know him. I had lunch with him just maybe a month before he passed. What a shock and what a loss. I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, he was just so great. I saw him at other smaller shows that he did, and I always loved looking at the stuff he would bring to sell, and I almost always bought something from him because he has such great stuff. But he's a rare person. A lot of people in this business, they can get kind of jaded, and they can get more preoccupied with how much money they're making. And you could always tell Mike just did it, whatever he did, whether a big show like this or a tiny little show in a VFW hall or whatever, he just did it because he loved comics, He's just the kind of guy he was. He liked being around comic book people, whether they were fans and collectors or professionals or both, like me. And he's going to be really missed. I mean, I don't think people really realize yet what a big hole he's left.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for talking to us. Hey, I'm here with Mark Hodges. We're talking about Mike DeSantis. Tell us a little bit about your experience with Mike.
Mike was always a great promoter, but to be honest, he was a better human being. Good husband, a good father. His daughters were wonderful people. Took care of his mother right up until she passed. He was always with her. That was the thing that made Mike sort of special. Not necessarily that he was a promoter in this scene and all, but that he was a good human being. And unfortunately, we don't have enough good human beings running around the planet. Well, and that's the big thing that people should do. It's not necessarily mourning Mike, but it's a celebration of his life and what he contributed to society, which is a lot. He left the world a little better than when he came into it. And that's really should be the goal of everybody, to leave the world a little better of a place than when you showed up. Plus, being a teacher, I didn't even mention that in the little thing. How many of his students has he impacted? I'm sure it's an immense thing. I'm sure it was a shock at the school. So I miss him. Godspeed, Mike.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thanks. Hey, this is Mark. I'm here with Dirk Manning. He's got something beautiful to say about Mike DeSantis.
Yeah. This has been a tough show, and we're all trying to be jovial and stuff like that. And when we got here, I got to see Amy and stuff like that. And I realized something, and we can only hope when we pass that someone would have a convention in our honor, and that's what I've been telling everybody. This is a celebration, I wish, like a lot of us wish, that Mike would be here, another 100 years, man. But to send him out like this with a convention is what I know what he would have wanted, So to everyone that comes out this weekend to support Mike and stuff like do that, he was one of the nicest guys I know. One of my favorite things here in the scene was whenever Mike and I were to show together, we'd always steal time away privately. And that's the kind of guy he was. It's like we valued that. But like I've been telling everybody, ultimately this is a celebration. We can only hope when we go, someone will have a a convention or a party for us, and that's I think our attitude here this weekend. So, Amy, we appreciate you holding this. We all love you, and there's an army of us here that we got your back now and long term. So, thank you for what you're doing, Honor Mike. Thank you, and thank you.
Beautiful, well done, and well said. Thank you, Dirk.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Mark. I'm here with Matt Laskowski. We're here talking about Mike DeSantis. Matt, tell us a little bit about your experience with Mike.
Mike was one of my best friends in comics. Mike was a fabulous person. In my opinion, the best promoter in the state of Michigan. The guy was great. I mean, this is a mom and pop shop operation that he turned into a 3-day con. He's got Kevin Eastman, he's had Jim Starlin, he's had Shooter, Stranko. I mean, to take a mom and pop shop operation and turn it into a major con within 15 years is just absolutely unbelievable. But as good of a promoter as he was an even better person. He had a wicked sense of humor. I'm going to miss texting jokes and memes with him about comics and life and everything. And he was just a fabulous person. And I will say, as much as he loved this stuff, nerd culture, his Ninja Turtles, and comic books, he loved his family more. They were the real treasure to him, and I'm really going to miss him.
Thanks, Matt. We're all going to miss him. Hey, this is Mark. I'm here with Eric of the Ghostbusters. Tell us, Eric, how did Mike affect your life and your experiences here at this Comic-Con?
Mike was one of the first guys to believe in us. So Ghostbusters wasn't really around like a decade ago it was around a little bit as the fandom, but as far as like a cosplay group in our area, we didn't really have as big of a structure as we do now. And Mike, he saw us with that Wagoneer and he wanted to bring the Wagoneer inside here. So that first year we were here as the Great Lakes Ghostbuster Coalition. Obviously I'm Ghostbusters Detroit, but back then we didn't have as many events. The Ghostbusters, so we had the Kalamazoo guys were coming here, the Lansing guys were all coming here because there wasn't a lot for us to do. So back then we had that corner there, and we brought the Wagoneer inside. We had the whole corner area. Were you guys here? Do you remember that when we had? Oh yeah, that was the video with my dad.
Yeah, the Jeff Foxworthy.
Yes, that was here. That was our first time here with Mike. We would go to Mike had smaller cons, right? At the Union Hall. We were going to that one. Yeah, the smaller expos. We did those like halfway to Comic-Con as little shows. And then that place closed down. But then in December, for the past decade, we would do our toy drive there. Every year we would do Toys for Tots because Mike would gather for Toys for Tots, and we would have all of our fans and all of our donations would come together. We'd buy our toys and we would bring them all there. Even during COVID, Mike still had his show open, and we were all masked and everything. And we got pictures. I posted the pictures of it just like the other day because I was like, man, it was. So I don't know what we're gonna do. I mean, like I said, it's been a tradition for us, for 10 years now, every year donating our toys at Mike's convention. And they told us that Marines Toys for Tots, they got recognized for how many toys were being donated, and it's just, it's a shock to all. It's just unbelievable, He had
such a great impact on this community.
He was like all the other cons too. He was always like, "Hey, Mike, how you doing?" Friendly guy, always friendly and happy. Man, just a nice guy. It was just unbelievable, It's
we're all gonna miss him, Eric, and it's the love is here in this room tonight, and we're gonna be talking to more people just like Eric, and they have the same kind of stories and love for Mike, and he is gonna be missed.
Yeah, the thing about it too is like with this convention when we heard about it, we're like, the way Mike was such a great guy, it was like the show must go on, but even if it didn't, he would be like, you know what I mean? It would have been okay with them, you know what I mean? Because he was just such a good guy, and it's just, it's a shame that we lost him because he was one of the good ones, Well,
thank you, Eric. It was appreciated.
Thank you. It's always good seeing you guys too. We love seeing you guys. So.
Hey, I'm here with Tim of the Capital City Comic-Con. We're here to talk about Mike DeSantis and what kind of impact he had on Tim and him getting his con going.
Mike DeSantis was a great guy over the years since Brian and I have been running Capital City Comic-Con. Mike was always approachable about advice and always willing to share, even with contacts, telling us, hey, here's how you get a hold of this guest, or Here's somebody that you should contact with, or this is a good vendor. He was just a great all-around guy, willing to help other conventions like ours get up and going. So just, I can't say enough good things about Mike.
Thanks a lot, Tim. Hey, this is Mark. We're here with Jason Smith of the Geeky Experience. We're here talking about Mike DeSantis. Tell us a little bit about your experience working with Mike.
Mike was one of the most genuine people that you'll ever meet in your life. He actually helped me with my show that we put on over in Holland a couple years ago. We asked him so many questions. He was pretty tired of us by the end of it, but he still was such a great, incredible guy. It was just, we used his information very wisely, and he was such a wise man. We knew he had done this a time or two, so we went to Mike a lot, and we got him into a Lexington show. Him and Jason came in. We met him outside, and I gave him some passes out there, and because Mike was great. Mike was always the caring, wonderful guy, and one year he's called me up and said, Jason, I sold out of corner booths, but I saved you one. It was just, that touched me deep. I was like, wow, how many promoters would ever do that? None. But Mike was there hey, we're trying to take care of you, Jason. And every time you turn around, he was just always such a genuine, wonderful man. I miss him a lot. My heart goes out to Brad, Jason, all of his close friends. Amy, I can't imagine what she's feeling. It's one of the saddest things I've ever heard.
Here at Comic Experience Sci-Fi, we also had similar experiences with Mike. He kind of took us under his wing, when we started coming to these shows. He was very open to us, getting us press passes coming in, unlike some other cons at first, but he was like one of our first showrunners that we actually became friends with. And we always enjoyed doing our preview show before the Great Lakes Comic Con show came out, and we just did one recently, like 5 days before he passed away. And and every time I look at that, I tear up. And again, it comes from everyone that he was such a great guy, and he's gonna be missed. And I still get choked up thinking about him, because he was a great guy to talk to. I used to see him at all the shows and hang out with him, and now we can't do that anymore. And
it was sad. It was one of the saddest things, and you treat people fairly and nicely, you go a long ways. And Mike was the best at that. He was great.
And this weekend is going to be a testament to that love that everyone had for Mike. And it's going to be a hard weekend, but it's going to be one of those weekends that people are going to remember, and they're going to cherish his memory.
Absolutely.
And thanks a lot, Jason, for talking to us.
Thank you.
Hey, we're here with Kevin Morton of Kmort Comics, here talking about Mike DeSantis. Tell us, what was your experience working with Mike DeSantis?
Mike literally was the nicest guy in Metro Detroit comics. There's nothing he wouldn't do to help you out as a new vendor, give you pointers, tips. I just love talking old school comics with him because we're the same age. He grew up in St. Clair Shores. I grew up in Clinton Township. So we were always in the same comic circles growing up, and I always thought Mike would be what I was like if I didn't discover girls and hot rods and sell all my comics off, if I would have still kept at it. But he was always good with some old stories and that, telling me how he picked up an AF-15 for like $2,600, and it hit at the peak like at 170, and he was an idiot for not selling it. But no, Mike was a great guy, and when I started getting into selling, get in the show, and he was like, hold on, I got a spot for you. And we had a little mix-up this year with the emails with me being on the road, and Mike was like, hey, I got you covered, man. And sadly, that was the last correspondence I had with Mike, but I really, it's never the jerks, it's always the good guys, But he'll be fondly remembered, and should be a good show, just out of, memory of Mike, and just the good guy show. If you want idiots and villains, go to Motor City, the team of villains. But so yeah, he's going to be missed.
Well, thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. Hey, this is Mark at the Great Lakes Comic Con. I'm here with David Haverstick. We're here talking about the great Mike DeSantis. Dave, tell me a little bit about what you experienced working with the great man, Mike DeSantis.
So I was fortunate enough to meet Mike, and we would go hunting around together before and after shows when he was a dealer. And really, last year at Fantasticon on Port Huron, I really got to know him, going out with him and Brad and Jason Moore out for meals before and after the show. And it was a shock to hear about his passing, and I think we're all going to miss him very much.
Well, we just did an interview with him like 6 days prior to it, and when we were notified about it, we couldn't believe it. We thought it was fake. Yeah. We thought it was someone playing some kind of game online or something. Then we got the confirmation, and then our hearts just sank in our stomach. And
yeah, and my heart goes out to Amy. My heart goes out to his whole family, because he is just a wonderful, genuine human being, and we're going to miss him.
Me too. And this is Mark at Great Lakes Comic Con. Hey, this is Mark. I'm here with Dave Merchant. He's got something really nice to say about Mike.
Yeah, Mike DeSantis was a great guy. He loved comics. He was a good guy. He told us that how he used to be able to schedule the show, because when he would schedule the show, you knew that weekend would be the weekend we were going to get a snowstorm. So, but he only was concerned about that because he wanted people to show up. I've known Mike for years. I know him when he was at a VFW hall out on Gratiot. So he did a few shows there. That evolved into the 15 years that we've had here at Macomb Community College. A wonderful thing for the community here, and it brings out all the people from the comic community to enjoy the show. We really love having Mike around. This is a wonderful show. It does stuff for the college, for the comics, and for all the people around. It was really something to have. It allowed him to bring out people. We got some new talent. We got some people that were established, people that have been around for a while. And everybody got to have a nice, good time at the show. And that was a big thing, and that was always important. It really had that family feel. He loved doing this. And the saddest thing more, just than the problems we're with the show and him not being there, is that we lost our friend. Mike was a great guy and a great person for the comics community, and we're going to miss him. So,
thanks a lot, Dave.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Mark. We're at the Great Lakes Comic Con. I'm here with Jamie Stewart, and this is kind of a bittersweet show with the passing of its showrunner, Mike DeSantis. And we want to talk to Jamie here. He's got a really interesting, cool story about Mike.
Oh, I tell you, I've been doing Great Lakes Comic Con since about 2013 and haven't done them all. But I never will forget early on doing one of the early shows. I got laid off from my regular job in 2014 and called Mike, told him that, that I had been laid off and I'd really like to do his show, but I couldn't afford to pay in advance. And my unemployment benefits had run out, and so I was really struggling financially, trying to keep things together. And Mike just told me, said, don't worry about it. He said, I know who you are, said, trust you, just come on up to Michigan. And that meant the world to me because it gave me the opportunity to earn a little extra coin. And I never will forget, on the way up here from Cleveland, Ohio, about 9 o'clock in the morning, I got a phone call as I was crossing the Michigan line, letting me know that I'd been hired for a job I had just interviewed with. And my whole disposition changed, and I was so excited the rest of the trip here to Great Lakes. And when I arrived for check-in, I told Mike what had happened, and he just had the biggest grin and enthusiastic handshake and hug, and he said, I'm so happy for you. And I wasn't close with Mike, but it just speaks to the kind of guy that he is. And he was just so happy for me to hear good news, for good things happening to hopefully good people. And but that always just struck me. And everything you hear and read about Mike, whether it's from his students or from faculty that worked with him, and certainly those of us in the comic book community that dealt with him as a vendor at his shows or set up next to him at shows, which I had done before as well.
they all have that to say about him. And so I love the fact that this show this weekend is kind of like a love letter to Mike for everything that he's done for the last decade and a half. He'll truly be missed.
Well done. Well said, Jamie. And this is Mark at Great Lakes Comic Con talking about Mike DeSantis. Hey, this is Mark. I'm here with Scott of SNL Comics. He's been a vendor coming to this show about 4 years now. He's got a cool story about Mike. Take it away.
I do, sort of. When I first got back into comic book dealing, I was doing these smaller shows, the expos. My display wasn't quite like it is today. Let's just put it that way. I'm sitting there trying to clamp down wooden pieces and, fixing this huge board that I had no business doing. Sitting there falling over on me and stuff, and he comes over and he helps me. He's like, "Hey, let me get that for you. Why don't you try this? Because this isn't going to work for you." I'm like, "All right." So eventually we've gotten a little bit better with our display. So he got me on the right direction as far as what to do for displaying books for a show, and I'll always be eternally grateful for that. So he's always been awesome and very helpful. So he's awesome.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
Hey, we're here talking with Jeff Ryder of Ryder Hobbies about Mike DeSantis. Tell us a little bit about some of your experiences.
I've done, I think, every one of Mike's shows since he was on Gratiot. And the last 3 times I've done Port Huron, I've done it by myself. So Mike packs his car, and out of the kindness of his heart, come back in and help me load out, because I always bring way more than needed. And really simple as that. He was just a great guy. I was shopping when we got the news, and Kathy called me crying because she really liked Mike. Mike was a great guy. Very sorry for the loss for the family and everything, but always helped us out. Probably our favorite show promoter, Easy to say that. He was such a good guy. So, that's my story. Very simple. He was always helping. I think he always helped everybody, So
thanks a lot, Jeff.
Sure.
Hey, we're here talking with Nick about Mike DeSantis. Tell us a little bit about your experience with Mike.
Well, Mike was a person who I greatly respected. He was always kind, patient. I've been doing these Comic-Cons for about 4 or 5 years now, and Great Lakes is a con I've been for a while, and he's always been like the epitome of class, someone who, honestly, his loss is, his passing is a great loss for everyone, and honestly, when I heard it, I got a bit choked up, because he feels like he died kind of young, honestly. It's really nice when someone passes and they get so much respect to that, and I'm going to miss him. Yeah, he was a great guy. He was always patient and always made me feel welcome, and what are the good ones always got to go.
This is Mark at Great Lakes Comic Con. Hey, I'm here with Joe and Brandy of Just Joe King Comics. They have a beautiful story to talk about Mike. Tell me, Joe.
Beautiful story. Well, I will say Mike stuck his neck out for us. For us being new vendors, we've only been doing this for a year. The very first time I met him, I was like, I'm ready to tackle the world. I'm ready to tackle C2E2 and all the big cons. And he goes, I think you guys need to get your feet wet a little bit more. I was like, who's this guy? And sure enough, he ends up being a teacher. And he kind of took us under his wing a little bit, gave us some tips, kind of gave us the little bit of the ropes a little bit. And he really stuck his neck out for us in the short amount of time that we've been doing this. I know he's been a big impact in this community and for comic books in general. And me and Brandy really appreciate it.
So Mike actually cares, which is very rare. Not only was he a teacher and he gave back to the community, but he authentically cares about children's upbringings. That's very important because the comic book part plays parts into history and it plays parts into people just gaining knowledge in general. Mike was a stand-up individual and he gave back exactly what he expected out of you, and he expected authentic transparency. And I loved Mike for that.
There you have it. Hey, this is Mark. I'm here with artist Steve Bama, here talking about Mike DeSantis.
Well, I mean, I started with Mike back the first year he did a show, 15 years ago, when we did Great Lakes in another building, and it was just like the size of a classroom. and I found it totally by accident. But Mike was such a great guy, and he was, professional, and he made the show great that I just kept coming back. It's like, it's not even a question. Well, yeah, I'm going to do Great Lakes because Mike took care of everything. He was a great guy. Everybody here is friendly. You just wanted to be part of it. It's just really that simple. A lot of the promoters you don't see, or you don't even know who they are. But Mike was always here, always stopping by, asking how things are going. You can't beat that. He was just a good guy.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Oh, you're welcome. Hey, this is Mark. I'm here with Seamus talking about Mike DeSantis. Tell us a little bit about your experience with Mike.
Mike was the first guy who brought me in as a guest, and was always this amazingly happy, cheerful guy with a huge smile and a huge heart. And I always loved coming back every year just to hang out with him. And it wasn't just the show; it was Mike. Mike was the beating heart of this whole show, and was just a beautiful soul, just an amazing man.
Thanks a lot. He was such an amazing man that he's going to be missed for years to come. Hey, this is Mark. I'm here with Lauren Becker. We're talking about Mike DeSantis. Tell me, Lauren, tell me a little bit about your experience with Mike.
First time I met Mike was about 15 years ago when he started this show, and he was actually sold out of tables, but somebody canceled and told me I was the first person he called. And after that, he got me into this show, and it was always so good. And then when I found out about the news that he passed away, I was really saddened about that, especially since he was a huge Turtles fan, and he was trying for years to get Kevin Eastman to this show. And it's just kind of heartbreaking that he got him in, and he couldn't even see the fruits of his labor to actually be here for it.
You have any interesting stories you want to share about Mike?
It was more interactions that I had with him. We would always see each other at certain shows, and we would always try to one-up each other, but we would just, like, hey, look what I bought. I go, oh, that's cute. Here, look what I bought. Oh, good for you. But it was a friendly banter back and forth. He would actually also, because of his press connections, he would always get preview passes for all the big movies. So he would always like, hey, I've got a pass for Star Wars, or, oh, I got a pass for the new Flash movie. You want to come see it? I'd drop everything I was doing and go see it with him. And then he would give me some flack because I'd be sitting in next to his wife. He goes, no, I sit there. You sit somewhere else.
But anyways, what do you think about, do you think they're going to continue with this con?
I would like to hope that they do, but Mike was really the heart and soul of this show. And even though his wife and his brother are doing a tremendous job keeping the show going this weekend, it honestly wouldn't surprise me if unfortunately they do stop. I hope that they do continue, but that's really up to them.
Anyways, Lauren, it was a pleasure speaking with you, and we're here celebrating Mike DeSantis here at the Great Lakes Comic Con.